Very good evening. Welcome to State of Business on our television. I'm Ashinsani Veerasingh. Let's have a look at the headlines for today. Government intends to execute atomic power for electricity generation in Sri Lanka, says Minister Ravi Karunanayake. Communal violence after Easter Sunday attacks adversely tarnishes Sri Lanka's image at global forefront, says business veterans. News in detail. Addressing a seminar on atomic energy, Minister of Power, Energy and Business Development Ravi Karunanayake stresses that government intends to execute atomic power for electricity generation in Sri Lanka, along with the technical and financial assistance of international experts in the subject. Here, Minister Karunanayake speaking at the seminar which was held yesterday in Colombo.
Meaningfully, little Sri Lanka is caught up with its own financial problems. So looking at when we have installed capacity of 4,200 in generation, looking at atomic power is something which is in the distant future. But certainly this is something we have got to look at. And I don't want to discourage anyway if there's any meaningful step that we could take in order to ensure that the government gives its fullest cooperation. We are there. We have a team that is there representing the needs of the country, and we find the professionals are responding in today's context. We find agriculture, areas of the health, all of them have the atomic powers or the atomic relativeness being used. And I look forward to your close circuit meeting that will help us to ensure where the government should basically focus ourselves and assist. We are certainly there to assist, but our only prohibiting factor is the financial cost. So if you are able to ensure that you give us the guidance, the help and the finance as well, I'm sure we Sri Lanka could be saying yes as soon as possible.
Chairman of Laughs Holdings, WKH Vagampitiya says that the issues related to extremism cannot be boiled down to ethnicities and races, whereas it is actually the harmful cults that disperse these extremist sensitivities. Addressing the recent panel discussion titled Progress as a Nation and How Can We Move Together, organized by the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, the Laughs Holdings chairman Vagampitiya reiterated that political compulsions are partly responsible for the artificial created divisions in the country.
So the problem that we face in this country was not a race problem, because you cannot call anyone racist because we don't have race now. It's not about a problem with ethnic groups. It's about, if you really analyze, the problem is created by certain cults. The anthropologists and phenologically assessed scientists have defined this as cults. They have certain beliefs, extreme expectation, and they are really disastrous. So they created imbalance in the whole society. So therefore we have to analyze it from a very macro point of view and take it from a holistic point of view. But unfortunately, over a period of time, this country has forgotten those important points, and everything has been politicized. If you really analyze every issue, it has linked to the current political system.
Adding to the comments delivered by the chairman of Laughs Holdings at the panel discussion of Progress as a Nation and How Can We Move Forward, Deputy Chairman and Group Finance Director of John Keel's Holdings, Gihan Kure, highlights that the communal violence following Easter Sunday attacks, such as isolating certain companies based on ownership and ethnicities, will tarnish the image of Sri Lanka at the international forefront.
We as John Keel's have foreign shareholders just as much as many of the other listed corporates do. And when we meet some of these investors, even post the April incidents, whilst they do talk about, what happened, how will our leisure sector recover, I think there's quite an understanding that it will recover, and it's a question of how long, is it 8 to 12 months or a little beyond that. But I think a lot of the discussion also then tends to be about some of these communal issues and what happens there, and do we sort of regress and have some of the issues that we had in the past. And that's what then they tend to focus on. And I think that's where we need to really put our foot down and say enough is enough, and we're not going to let this sort of thing happen anymore. But unfortunately, it is something we've seen. We've seen it in some of our businesses, maybe not so much with us, but if you look at some of the other corporates, people are looking at ownership, and this call to boycott or move away from products of certain companies or corporates or businesses based on ownership.
State Minister of Finance Iran Vikramaratne says that over 55,000 entrepreneurs have applied for the assistance under the Enterprise Sri Lanka loan scheme, and the government has disbursed 88 million rupees selected innovative business proposals. State Minister Vikramaratne made this revelation yesterday, briefing the media over the second Enterprise Sri Lanka exhibition to be conducted tomorrow in Anuradhapura.
If you typically take a public day of a politician like myself in my electorate, if 10 young people come to see me, almost all 10 are coming to look for a job, and out of the 10 who are coming to look for a job, maybe about 8 to 9 are looking for a job in the government. I'm just telling you what the factual situation is. We need to change this culture. We need to really encourage entrepreneurship, and partially it's because people are not exposed to the concepts and all. So I can't measure the impact of the exhibition, and I think we need to take this exhibition around the country. But what we could say is on the Enterprise Sri Lanka, things like the loan schemes and all, we could measure those, right, and say since we launched this program that tens of thousands of loans have been given, actually about 55,000 loans have been given as of now, and about 88 billion rupees have been dispersed under the Enterprise Sri Lanka loan scheme.
Stay tuned for more news after this short break. Welcome back after the break. The National Human Resource Conference 2019, organized by the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management in Sri Lanka, will be held on 17th and 18th of September 2019 at the BMICH in Colombo. The theme for this year is Radically Reinvented Reality, and the conference will include local and foreign experts in human resource management and business. The organizing committee revealed these at a media briefing which was held last week. CIPM Sri Lanka will inaugurate its annual flagship event, the National Human Resource Conference, this year too, with over 1,200 delegates from Sri Lanka and a number of foreign countries. The organizers say that the National HR Conference 2019 has special significance as it is the first such conference being held after the receipt of the charter status to the CIPM. The CIPM has also invited Secretary General of the World Federation of People Management Associations, Bob Morton, to deliver the keynote address on the first day of the event under the topic of HR Megatrends for a New Era. The theme for this year's conference intends to transform and position the human resource subject in a new paradigm, taking into consideration the changes being experienced which are being brought about by new disruptive technology and lifestyle changes which are all fundamentally affecting the workplace. Addressing the media briefing held to announce the National Human Resource Conference 2019, Chairman of NHRC Committee of CIPM Sri Lanka, Ajit Bopitia, states that the conference's theme, Radically Reinvented Reality, will fundamentally address how the human resource personnel can bring solutions to the rising environmental degradation, since the sustainable economy is the new sought-out economy.
The environment, as you all see, we are changing our own environment. The people who live in it are destroying it almost to the level that we cannot actually accept it as a human being. We forget sometimes that we are on a borrowed land. We borrowed it from the future generations. Now, most of this destruction and disruption is caused by the organizations who pollute the air, who pollute the earth, and who pollute the waterways. So HR has a role to play because it has to be stopped by people. And therefore, we took upon ourselves to deliberate on what's happening around the world, how they see it, how they look at it, and identify critically and strategically important initiatives to be launched in Sri Lanka and around the region, and probably become an example to the world.
Department of Census and Statistics announces that National Consumer Price Index for the month of June 2019 increased to 129.2 from 128.7 reported in the month of May. Department of Census and Statistics said that the headline inflation, measured by the National Consumer Price Index, decelerated to 2.1% in June on a year-on-year basis from 3.5% in May 2019. The NCPI in June increased to 129.2 from 128.7 reported a month ago, recording an increase of 0.5 index points as a result of the increases of the expenditure value of the food items by 0.37% and the non-food items by 0.05% respectively. The increase in the expenditure value of food items were reported for the fresh fish, big onions, green chilies, red onions, rice, potatoes, limes, dry fish, milk powder and banana. The decrease in the expenditure value of food items were reported for vegetables, coconuts, chicken and eggs. The increases in the expenditure value of non-food groups in June 2019 compared to the previous month were due to the expenditure value increases in groups of items, transport, restaurants and hotels, furnishing, household equipment and clothing and footwear. A decrease in the expenditure value was reported in alcoholic beverages, tobacco and narcotics compared to the preceding month. Meanwhile, expenditure value of housing, water, electricity, gas and other fuels, health, communication, recreation and culture and education remained unchanged during the month. Sri Lanka has very low prevalence in hepatitis due to its commendable immunization programs, even though it is prevalent in Sri Lanka's closest neighbor, India. This was revealed at a public seminar which was recently organized by the Sri Lanka Medical Association to mark the World Hepatitis Day recently, and here Dr. Sanjeeva Arya Singha educating the gathering.
To our extended immunization protocols. Most healthcare workers, if not all, have also been vaccinated. We also do a good job at adhering to universal precautions. So all of these have made Sri Lanka a low prevalence country. Also, I think the importance of having the pork trade between India and Sri Lanka is also important, because that has to a certain degree stopped free migration, because India has a huge burden of hepatitis B and C, more of hepatitis B, and to be away from all of that is quite a blessing. So although we have a low prevalence, we cannot be complacent, we need to be vigilant and promote prevention. Vaccination is the mainstay of prevention of hepatitis B.
We'll be back after a short break. Welcome back after the break. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a positive note today. The all-share price index gained 23.7 points to close at 5,683.47 and the S&P SL 20 gained 24.79 points to close at 2,749.55. The turnover was 339 million rupees and over 19 million shares were traded. Up next are forex rates. That's all the news for today. Join us tomorrow at the same time. Until then, take care. Good night.